From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Friday, September 29th. Fog is going to burn off mid-morning, and then the clouds will decrease today. Lots of sunshine this afternoon, and it's going to be warmer with highs in the upper 70s. Following breaking news this morning, there's been another deadly police shooting, this time in Bedford. Police say 3 Bedford police officers shot and killed a chase suspect last night. It all started just before 10 p.m. State police say that's when a woman arrived at the Bedford Police Department to file a harassment complaint against a man she said had followed her there. Police identified that suspect as Damon Hubbard and found him driving a few minutes later on 17th Street. They say they tried to pull him over, but he sped off. Police say Hubbard hit a patrol car and led officers to a home on Western Avenue. That's when police say things escalated and officers fired their weapons, killing Hubbard. No one else was hurt. Authorities haven't said if Hubbard had a weapon or what led to the gunfire. Police say officers did have body cameras on, and those officers are on administrative leave. 2 people are hurt after an early morning collision between a car and a semi. It happened just before 3 this morning at Lafayette Road and Pike Plaza Road. Indianapolis police tell us a car ran a red light and the semi couldn't stop in time to avoid it. Police say 1 person from the car and 1 person from the truck suffered minor injuries.
I think everybody loses. I think the Republicans lose. I think the Democrats lose. I think the administration loses. I think the country loses.
Alaska Republican Lisa Murkowski puts into words the fears growing in many, both at the Capitol and across the country as the government shutdown draws closer. The House appears no closer to a deal to head off the crisis, and Speaker Kevin McCarthy is rejecting calls to take up a Senate plan that would fund the government through November 17th. The House passed 3 funding bills last night, but none would keep the government open past Saturday. And thousands of federal employees in Indiana are bracing ahead of Saturday night deadline. According to the House Budget Committee, Indiana has roughly 27,000 federal government workers. About half work in Indianapolis. Those numbers do not include military personnel or contractors. Duncan Giles leads the Indianapolis chapter of the National Treasury Employees Union. He has seen what a shutdown can do.
We've got too many people living paycheck to paycheck, including people who are both members of the federal government. And when you have a couple that's both working for the federal government and both going to be without their paycheck, that can get really nasty very quickly.
Giles says people should cut out whatever they can from their budget if the shutdown happens. Officials say federal employees will automatically receive back pay once it ends. About 300 TSA workers in Indianapolis would still have to work during a shutdown without knowing when their next paychecks are coming. We spoke to a leader of the union representing the workers. He says even though back pay is almost certain to come eventually, workers considered essential will still have financial burdens. He gives credit card late fees as one example. He also cautions that sick calls could increase.
We do have some employees that approach management and ask for leave without pay for a period during the shutdown because they simply can't afford to leave their house anymore.
The TSA says officers went 5 weeks without a paycheck during the last government shutdown. And today, the United Auto Workers Union could expand its strike at GM, Stellantis, and possibly Ford. UAW President Shawn Fain is set to address members at 10 this morning. He'll discuss the state of negotiations, whether the strike will be extended, and if so, where. Those additional strikes would begin at noon. According to a report by Reuters, the union made a new counterproposal to Stellantis yesterday. Right now, workers are only striking at 3 plants in Michigan, Missouri, and Ohio. Also today, the State House is holding visitation and services for a state senator. Jack Sandlin died last week. Everyone is invited to pay final respects this morning from 9 to noon at the State House. A memorial service will start shortly after noon. Tomorrow morning, a graveside service for Sandlin is set to happen at the Indiana Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Madison. Suzanne Morphew's husband wants an independent investigation into Morphew's death. She's the Indiana native whose remains turned up this week, about 40 miles south of her home in Colorado, more than 3 years after she disappeared while on a bike ride. Prosecutors charged Barry Morphew with murder and other crimes, but dropped the charges last year shortly before trial. His attorneys released a statement yesterday offering a detailed argument for Barry Morphew's innocence and calling for an outside investigation. A friend of Suzanne Morphew is also addressing the discovery of the remains.
A lot of us have talked and said, maybe they will never find her. But I don't know. I believe it was a grace of God that they were looking, unfortunately, for someone else they did not find, but they did find her. And I pray that they find the person that they were looking for also.
Prosecutors have not yet said if the discovery of the remains will change their view of the case. An appeals court in New York is rejecting a bid from former President Donald Trump to delay his civil trial brought on by the state's attorney general. Yesterday's decision comes just 2 days after a judge ruled Trump committed years of fraud. The ruling strips some of Trump's companies as punishment. The decision also clears the way for the non-jury trial to start Monday. Trump is listed among dozens of possible witnesses. And President Biden is offering dire warnings about Trump and his allies. His comments came during a speech yesterday in Arizona, celebrating a library to be built honoring the late Senator John McCain. Biden accused the former president of being more interested in personal power than upholding the nation's core values.
Let me begin with the core principles. Democracy means rule of the people, not rule of monarchs, not rule of the money, not rule of the mighty. Regardless of party, that means respecting free and fair elections, accepting the outcome, win or lose. It means you can't love your country only when you win.
The president also accused mainstream Republicans of complicity, saying the silence is deafening. And Biden's comments come as House Republicans held the first hearing in their impeachment inquiry into Biden. The chairs of the Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means committees spent more than 6 hours reviewing legal and constitutional questions about impeachment. They accused President Biden of being improperly involved in the overseas business of his son, Hunter. Democrats say the Republicans have no evidence of anything impeachable.
At least 10 times, Joe Biden lied to the American people that he never spoke to his family about their business dealings. He lied by telling the American people that there was an absolute wall between his official government duties and his personal life. Let's be clear. There was no wall.
The majority sits completely empty-handed with no evidence of any presidential wrongdoing, no smoking gun, no smoke.
The president's spokesperson during a briefing yesterday called the hearing a baseless stunt. And now to Colts watch. Anthony Richardson is not yet certain to return Sunday against the Rams, but he did practice again yesterday as he works to clear concussion protocol. Running back Zach Moss is coming off a career performance with 122 yards and touchdown in Sunday's win over Baltimore. A win Sunday would give the Colts their first 3-1 start since 2020. And happening right now, Europe is thumping America in golf's Ryder Cup. The tournament teed off this morning in Italy, and Europe got out to a very hot start, winning all of the first 4 matches. No matter what happens from here, the single best shot of the tournament will not count. Europe's Victor Hovland got a hole-in-one during a practice round yesterday. The remarkable part is that it didn't happen on a par 3, but rather a par 4, making it an extraordinarily rare albatross. Hovland's subdued reaction to the ace seemed to indicate that he was disappointed that it happened in practice instead of the actual competition. The Brickyard 400 is back. NASCAR will no longer run the road course at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and will return to the oval instead. The track and the series made it official yesterday after months of speculation about the change. Next year's race will end a 3-year run on the road course and mark the 30th anniversary of NASCAR races at the Speedway. The event will run over 2 days, a 250-mile Xfinity race on July 20th, then the main event the next day. We have gathered 30 years of Brickyard winners in photos. You can go to wishtv.com and look in the As Seen on Wish TV section of the website. Find the link to the photo gallery. Harvest Nights begins tonight at Newfields. It's become a fall tradition. You can walk the Pumpkin Patch Apparel, tour Mischief Manor. There's a lot more. There are a few types of different tickets that you can buy. You can find all of the different varieties and information on wishtv.com. And city leaders are hosting a hazardous waste and broken electronics drop-off this weekend. Tomorrow is another year that they're partnering up with local nonprofit Recycle Force for a free electronic drop-off. They're accepting broken electronics, including anything with a cord. DPW is asking families to leave hazardous waste that is ignitable, toxic, reactive, or poses a threat to human health or the environment as well. There is no cost for dropping off the toxic materials. It's a way to divert thousands of pounds of material from the landfill. The drop-off is tomorrow in Indianapolis at Garfield Park. That's at 2432 Conservative Observatory Drive. Staff will direct traffic at the event. Starts at 9, runs till 2. There are also talk drop sites all across the county if you can't make it to the event tomorrow. Those who have served as America's top doctor are spotlighting what they call a mental health crisis, especially among young people. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy held a discussion with 6 of his predecessors yesterday at Dartmouth College. According to a recent survey, about 42% of high schoolers say they constantly feel sad or hopeless. The data shows 41% of college undergraduate students have considered dropping out due to mental health concerns. Former Surgeon General and Wish TV medical expert Dr. Jerome Adams says mental health is one of the biggest public health challenges of our time.
And I have to look at my 3 teenagers every day and know that I'm not handing them a better world than the world that was left to me. And a lot of that is because of our failure to really focus on mental health and to do the hard things that it's going to take to actually overcome this mental health crisis that we're in.
Each Surgeon General on the panel agreed the U.S. needs to do more to address mental health. They say the crisis is so large it could undermine the foundation of our democracy. Butler University students we spoke to say they disagree with the new Wall Street Journal ranking for the school. Butler makes the top 200. The survey ranks schools based on salary impact, years to pay off student loans, graduation rates, student experience, and diversity. Students tell us the methodology doesn't show the full picture of what the school offers. A senior education major says the survey should consider other factors.
I personally don't value money super highly. I definitely value relationships and experiences over that. And it's, more important to me, as I'm graduating in May, to find somewhere that I'm going to be happy and feel fulfilled.
Rose Holman is a top Indiana school on the list at number 17. Today, a judge is set to announce whether the Oxford, Michigan school shooter could spend the rest of his life in prison or if he'll have a chance for parole. The November 2021 shooting killed 4 students and wounded 7 others. Ethan Crumbley pleaded guilty to 1 count of terrorism causing death, 4 counts of first-degree murder, and 19 other charges last year. First-degree murder carries an automatic life sentence for adults in Michigan, but Crumbley was 15 at the time of the attack. The actual sentence will not take effect until December 8th, when survivors and families can tell the judge about how the shooting has affected their lives. Baltimore authorities are accusing the suspect in the murder of a tech entrepreneur of going on a violent rampage that also included rape, arson, and attempted murder. Jason Billingsley is charged with first-degree murder in the death of 26-year-old Pavel Lapierre. Officials announced his arrest yesterday morning. Police say they hope it provides some closure.
I know this arrest does not bring back Pavel Lapierre or take away the heels of the many victims of Mr. Billingsley. But my hope is at least we can give a sense of closure to the city of Baltimore, the victims of all of his crimes and all their families.
Police say Billingsley had been released from prison last October. According to authorities, he had served a shortened sentence for a 2013 rape because he earned good behavior credits behind bars. They say he was also suspected in a rape days before Lapierre's death. To business headlines, a government shutdown is looking increasingly likely to begin this Sunday, a development that's been rattling some investors. Obviously talked a lot about this politically speaking at the top of the podcast. Now talk financially. A potential shutdown isn't expected to have a lot of impact on the stock market. Experts say it has contributed, though, to the S&P 500's more than 5% dip so far this month. The United Auto Workers Union wants to emerge from its strike against Detroit's 3 major automakers with at least a 30% pay raise. That's according to a Bloomberg report. That's the level which is lower than around 40% hike it initially proposed to Ford, GM, and Stellantis, that the union believes will allow it to satisfy existing members and organize non-union plants. Hourly workers are less confident that they'll retire comfortably compared to salaried workers. Retirement benefits provider Human Interest says that the survey found a quarter of employees say their employer does not offer a retirement savings plan at all. Compared to salaried workers, salary workers are twice as likely to say that they do not have any other family member that they can rely on. Microsoft discussed selling its Bing search engine to Apple. Executives from Microsoft met with Apple execs to discuss the possibility of acquiring Bing. It would have replaced Google as the default search engine. Netflix officially shuts the door on the red envelope DVDs today. There was hardly any business with the mail DVDs anymore as consumers switched to streaming. By the way, I did mention this when the first announcement came down. The first DVD shipped at Netflix was Beetlejuice. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and like us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.